Good afternoon, everyone. You are welcome to a presentation session, the parallel session for the ICAT International Conference on Appropriate Technology. I'm privileged to be your host, and my name is Olukorede Adenuga. I am a postdoctoral research fellow with Industrial Engineering Department at the Planning University of Technology. So, in order not to take our time, the floor is open. You have 2 minutes for your presentation. That is the rules. So, and 5 minutes for question and answer.
Okay.
So, I welcome Mika Ella Maybach, presenting, paper 112, Food Waste Management in Hospitals. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good day. My presentation is on food waste management in hospitals, and I'm Michaela Maybach, and the co-author of my paper is Dr. Hema Kesa. I'll begin my presentation now. Food waste has various negative effects on the environment. For example, wasting important resources such as water is used during the production of food. Additionally, there are negative social effects of food waste, which includes food insecurity. Therefore, it is essential to identify both the contributors and causes of food waste. This paper focuses on food waste contributed by hospitals. There is a lack of existing research with regard to food waste in hospitals, especially in South Africa. Therefore, investigating the extent, causes, implications, prevention, and reduction measures currently in place would contribute essential information to existing data. This study aims to investigate these key aspects. According to Hick, Pradhan, Ripsey, and Kropp, an estimate of 1.3 billion tons of food produced for human ingestion is wasted worldwide each year. Merritt, Smith, Kuhn, and Lutz state that South Africa contributes more than 9 million tons of food waste to the overall amount of food wasted globally each year. An estimate of 50% of total waste generated in general wards of hospitals comprises of food. The majority, if not all, of food waste generated by hospitals is discarded, which presents an enormous waste of essential resources. The reduction of food waste in hospitals, the causes of food waste, as well as measures needed to be implemented to manage hospital food waste and reduce the amount of food waste experienced, is essential. The purpose of this research study is to fill the gap linked to the lack of research conducted, as according to Sonia and McWilliam, it is estimated that more than 60% of hospital food might be wasted, although many hospitals have recorded wastage below 10% only. Hospitals contribute a large amount of food waste to the total waste stream. According to research conducted by Ganoon, Rosa, and Spence, hospitals contribute 50% of the overall waste stream. This paper further aims to contribute to existing knowledge of food waste in hospitals. The research questions for this paper was to determine the extent of food waste contributed by private hospitals in South Africa, identify the causes of hospital food waste, reduction and implications thereof, determine if special dietary requirements by patients contribute to a higher rate of food waste in private hospitals, and determine if the menu, quality of food, style of food service, and portion sizes have an effect on hospital food wastage. Food waste can be defined as a consumable food item intended for the ingestion but are rejected and therefore required to be discarded due to food items being contaminated by vermin. These foods do not include food items which have been rejected due to defects. There are two types of hospital food waste, which is trolley waste and plate waste. Trolley waste is also known as production waste. Hospital plate waste can be defined as food that has been served to patients but not consumed, and trolley waste refers to food waste that occurs during the stages of production, including storage and over-ordering, as well as overproduction of food. According to research conducted by Sonia and McWilliam, the amount of plate waste experienced by hospitals was lower than trolley waste, which would mean that more food waste is experienced due to factors such as overproduction and over-ordering rather than patients not consuming food. The causes of food waste include, can I just go back to the previous slide? Ganoon identified that between 19 and 66% of food is wasted in hospitals during each meal service. There are various causes of food waste in hospitals, according to Ganoon, which includes overproduction, inadequate portion control, irregular hospital environment, clinical factors, quality of service, poor temperature control, and food and safety rules and regulations. The largest amount of food waste is produced during service due to overproduction and the absence of adequate portion control. It is thus evident that there are various causes of food wastage. Therefore, finding appropriate preventative and reduction measures is essential in order to combat the major problem of food waste. The food waste hierarchy. Erickson states that the food waste hierarchy positions waste prevention and managing choices in order of importance. The food recovery hierarchy begins with reducing the amount of excess food as the most favorable strategy, and the least favorable being landfilling and incineration. Based on the food waste hierarchy, the best socially correct and environmentally friendly way to use excess food is to ensure that it is used to feed the hungry and undernourished. The prevention and reduction of food waste, according to Erickson, preventing the overproduction of food is the most effective way to reduce food wastage. However, this is not wanted due to the issue of food insecurity. Therefore, reducing waste is the most viable option as food waste cannot be completely prevented. Vets identify that measures for food waste reduction include in various areas, specifically efficient storage and purchasing, which entails optimizing storage management, for example, applying the FIFO method, which is first in, first out, and controlling the expiration date of food items. Further studies have identified ways in which food waste can be reduced. These strategies include standardizing recipes and preparing ingredients in advance in order to reduce the amount of food waste experienced during production. Various foods cause different amount of food waste in the food supply chain. For example, Non and DeLange state that meat contributes 7%, cereal contributes 26%, and fruits and vegetables contribute 44% to the food waste. As fruits and vegetables and cereals contribute the most wastage. Sorry, my presentation disappeared. Can you guys see it? Hello?
No, we can't see it.
No.
Can you see it? It just disappeared on my end.
No, we can't see it.
Okay. Thank you. As fish and vegetables and cereals contribute the most waste, reducing this wastage would contribute to the decrease in overall waste in South Africa. The World Wide Fund organization, as well as Ericsson, supports findings of Naumann and De Lange, which rank fruits and vegetables as well as cereals as the most wasted foods. It is therefore essential to identify which foods contribute the most waste and the reason for this wastage in order for the food waste to be reduced. There are three interconnected difficulties with food waste, according to Olofse and Naumann. These problems are food insecurity, greenhouse gas emissions, and waste disposal. Hick highlights that food insecurity is a major issue because food waste exerts an impact on both the economy and the environment due to 800 million people going hungry worldwide. There are a number of negative influences of food waste on the environment, which includes land degradation, a waste of scarce and valuable resources such as water. Food waste has negative implications on hospitals as they have to cover the cost of disposal of the food waste at landfills. They have to further cut financial losses owing to wasted resources such as food items, time spent preparing the food, and costly labor. The social implications of food wastage include malnutrition or undernutrition of hospital patients, which decreases their recovery rate.
Michaela, you have 1 minute more.
5 minutes.
One.
Oh gosh. Thank you. The research methods for the study, a pilot study was conducted, and this paper forms part of a larger study. The quantitative research approach was used in the study. The research technique adopted was the survey method. Questionnaires were completed in private hospitals in Gauteng, and ethical clearance for the study was granted by the University of Johannesburg, and permission was granted by the hospitals for the study to be conducted. The pilot study was conducted in order to determine that the questions were understood by respondents and to identify any errors. It increases the validity and reliability of the study. Results were analyzed and changes were made to the questionnaire. As I mentioned earlier, the study is in progress, and therefore only the results of the pilot is discussed.
Your time is up. What we ask you to do pending, we ask people to ask questions. You can stop sharing, then reload the PowerPoint, so in case you may want to respond to any of the questions from the participants.
Okay, perfect. I'll do that. Thank you.
So the floor is open for questions and for us to respond to work. Unfortunately, we lost our slides in the midst of the presentation, but that was why I requested that she can stop and reload it, so we can have
okay.
So, questions? There is a chat box for us for question and answer. So you can drop your question there if you don't want to be verbal with it, and you can also ask for those who are our presenter. I'm trying to unmute all our panelists, which are the presenter for today. So you can ask your question. If there are no questions from the participants, maybe I should Okay. There is a question from Patrina Yamukodiwa.
I'll call you back.
Asking, I am curious to hear about the major highlights or the results of the study. Michaela, can you respond to that?
Excuse me, can you please repeat the question?
Patrina is saying she is curious to hear about the major highlights or results of the study.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Let me go to the results slide.
Can you stop and share your screen? Go to the top and see. And
Can I continue?
yeah, but we are not seeing your screen anymore. We are not seeing your PowerPoint. That's why I requested that you should.
Okay, I'm going to the results screen. Can you see my PowerPoint now?
No, we can't see it yet.
Still not.
Yeah. Have you stopped sharing
I
before?
haven't stopped. No, I haven't stopped sharing.
Stop sharing, then you reshare. Probably that was where the problem was from.
Okay.
Yeah. We're seeing your screen coming up.
Okay, perfect. So basically,
So you can just go to the next slide and the result.
okay, I'm doing that. So basically, the extent of food waste contributed by the hospitals in Johannesburg, the study found that majority of the hospitals experience food waste every time food is prepared. So that's every meal service, and both trolley waste was experienced in all hospitals as well as plate waste. The bulk distribution of the hospitals used. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Okay. And the other half of the hospitals use the plated method. Further, the causes of hospital food waste in all the hospitals identified that kitchen areas, a lack of appetite by patients, and an irregular hospital environment caused food wastage in the hospitals. They also stated that the environment is largely affected by landfills and waste areas filling up, because that's where they get rid of their food wastage. We also have financial implications, which include costs in all departments of the hospitals due to loss of revenue and undertrained staff, which cause more food waste and thus increase their costs. And then one of the social implications identified by the hospitals is that ill patients might not eat the food, which could increase the risk of malnutrition while also contributing to food waste at the same time. And reduction measures in these hospitals include standardizing recipes, training employees, which does not happen often, and implementing food waste reduction systems, such as using leftover foods or peels and shells for compost. And the study found that special dietary requirements by patients do contribute to food wastage due to a lot of people having allergies such as lactose intolerance, and then illnesses such as diabetes, religious requirements such as halal and kosher meals. And then there are patients that are on liquid diets or are going through chemotherapy, which also decreases their appetites and therefore increases the amount of food wasted. And then the results of the pilot study found that the menu, quality of food, portion sizes, and so forth has an effect on the food waste. And it's important to find ways to adjust the menus to suit patients and serve better quality of food, have an option where patients can determine the size of their portions, which will decrease food wastage, and then remove the least popular meals from the menu items to also reduce food wastage.
I will need to stop you here. So probably you stay on so we can have the next presenter. And it's people that are staying with the give you privilege if we have time, because it's maximum of 20 minutes for a presenter, which we have exceeded.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can stop sharing.
Okay.
We do this more. Yeah, I'm going to make you a presenter now. Small. Okay.
Gee, I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, you can. It's your floor. Smallwood is presenting the advent of cross-laminated timber construction in South Africa.
Yes.
Yeah. So you are welcome.
Thank you, Chair.
For that 12 minutes to engage us, and 5 minutes for us to engage you back.
How many minutes to present, Chair?
12. 1, 2, 12.
Okay.
12 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to acknowledge the principal co-author, Brendan Murphy, a BSc Honours Construction Management graduate. He was from the class of 2019. So the manufacture of construction materials traditionally used in South Africa, and that includes brick, concrete, and steel, generate large volumes of greenhouse gases. And in fact, between 40 and 50% of the total global carbon emissions produced are generated by the built environment. There's been increasing adoption and utilization of CLT in regions of Australia, Europe, New Zealand, and North America. Given the limited research that has been conducted relative to the viability of utilizing CLT as an alternative sustainable building material in South Africa, the study was conducted, and this paper emanating from the study focuses on the knowledge, awareness, perceptions, exposure, and perceived demand with respect to CLT. Cross-laminated timber is a prefabricated solid engineered wood panel made of between 3 and 7 orthogonally bonded layers of solid sawn lumber or structural composite lumber that are laminated by gluing the longitudinal and transverse layers with structural adhesives to form a solid, rectangular shaped, straight and plain timber. It was first developed in the early 1990s in Austria and Germany. It's gained popularity in residential and non-residential applications in various countries globally. This figure indicates a perspective of a section or a panel of cross-laminated timber, and then there's a section AA and section BB. The photograph there indicates or presents a downward view within a CLT structure. Yes, CLT and sustainability, the two contributing components to greenhouse gas emissions of the total building life cycle energy are operational and embodied energy. There's a major focus on the reduction of operational energy use, which generates roughly a third of the global GHG emissions. Reducing the operational energy component reduces the life cycle energy use. However, it has an effect in that it increases the embodied energy component. So embodied energy, measured in megajoules, amount of energy required to extract, process, transport, and install a given building element. The embodied energy of hardwood timber is far less than that of concrete and steel. Exposure to CLT as a product, it's a recent and almost unheard of building material system in terms of South Africa. And then I'll focus on the last bullet point. The consumer's perception beliefs in a new product is fundamental for the adoption of a new product and can be as important as the actual performance of the product. And of course, marketing, the integration thereof with research and development is a key factor in terms of the success of a new product. There's a low level of awareness, exposure, and knowledge of a product. If there is, it mitigates its likelihood of being specified. And then, of course, lastly, on this slide, the decisions also influenced by the industry's experience relative to traditional reinforced concrete frame construction. Advantages and disadvantages of CLT construction. The wood utilized in the manufacture of CLT panels sequester and store carbon dioxide. So the timber acts as a carbon sink through the conversion of the carbon dioxide into biomass. However, wood is perceived as a risky option for multi-story residential buildings compared to other conventional frameworks such as concrete and steel. And this is due to fire, insects, and acoustic. However, the erection speed thereof is a major advantage. Cost. CLT's lighter frame reduces the size of the foundations, 30% time savings in terms of project schedules, and there's a third study portrays mass timber construction to be 4% cheaper. Building performance studies have been conducted. There was a 20-year comparative study relative to timber versus concrete versus steel, and the respective steel and concrete designs release 24 and 47% more air pollutants, emit 34% and 81% more GHGs, and they consume 26 and 50% more energy, respectively. The air tightness of CO2 is not an issue. CLT has high natural sound insulating properties, and CLT structures inherently have excellent fire resistance due to the component's thick cross-sections. Structural attributes of CLT, the building codes existing were identified as a barrier to adoption. Timber cannot match modern high-strength concrete in terms of compression. However, its strength parallel to the grain is very similar to that of reinforced concrete. Timber's weight in terms of overall structural volume is only 20% of that of the weight of concrete. Light structural frames allow high-rise building to double in height while only adding 10% of the weight. The demand for CLT, most of the global excitement surrounding CLT focuses on the construction of tall buildings, whereas the majority of CLT is actually produced for small to medium multi-residential, public, and industrial structures. The top 5 aspects of motivation for the adoption of wood as a structural material are sustainability, technical aspects, cost, erection speed, and aesthetics. The research method and sample strata, qualitative approach due to the limited knowledge and exposure to CLT in South Africa, and there were a total of 6 interviewees. You can see an Italian architect, an Italian structural engineer, an Italian CLT investor in South Africa, Czech Republic CLT project coordinator, South African CLT specialist, and a South African CLT manufacturer. In terms of the CLT knowledge and awareness, 33% basic knowledge of CLT and its characteristics originate from their tertiary education. 50% stated experience gained by designing and constructing and working with CLT as a product. 70% the basis of their knowledge was through specifying the product for projects and researching the product's characteristics and properties. The level of awareness knowledge in South Africa is limited. Specification of CLT, exposure to sufficient CLT information and knowledge of CLT is a prerequisite. Perceptions of timber affect the willingness to specify CLT. CLT is not suited to every project and client. There's a historical poor timber culture within South Africa which militates against the selection of CLT within the context of quality timbers perceived to be inferior. The limited number of architects and engineers in South Africa that possess the required training and experience relative to CLT. Structural knowledge of CLT, once again, the reference to the poor timber culture in South Africa by the interviewees was noted, and that plays a major role in terms of the perceptions relative to timber construction structural performance. As a construction material, timber's density is lower than that of conventional structural materials. That was identified in the literature. As a number of the interviewees' comments, they correlate, that is, the interviewees' comments with the findings of the literature. Also, timber structures, lightweight frame permits reduced concrete use in the foundations, major cost savings relative thereto. In terms of the interviewees' consensus, that is virtually 100%. The local industry is ill-equipped in terms of the skills and expertise necessary to drive the adoption of CLT. The demand for CLT, for the demand to increase, there's a dire necessity for basic knowledge of the project to be nurtured at tertiary built environment education institutions. The negative stigma attached to timber construction that militates against its adoption, and forward-thinking developers must become familiar with the benefits of CLT. Obviously, developers, that is clients, drive the agenda. And, of course, the demand, therefore, is directly linked to the awareness, knowledge, and perception of the materials and alternative construction system. And I will move on to the perceptions. These are kind of repetitive. General perception as timber construction is viewed as inferior. CLT's fire performance and fire resistance were identified as a concern and a barrier to its adoption. The cost of CLT construction systems is cited as being between 10 to 20% higher than conventional. And conclusions, adopting CLT construction systems can result in zero carbon structures. CLT is environmentally friendly. The infancy of CLT in South Africa is due to the low level of awareness and knowledge. On-site productivity is improved as a result of the CLT elements being prefabricated. Quality is assured due to the precision and accuracy of the CLT elements. And, of course, approvals and inclusions within SANS documents, the NBRs and building codes, militate against the embracing of CLT systems. Recommendations, tertiary built environment education should or must include CLT-related modules and or address it within modules. Professional associations and statutory councils have a role to play in the form of continuing professional development and the development of CLT practice notes and guidelines. Carpentry skills programs should include exposure to CLT systems. The SANS documents, NBRs, and building codes need to include approved CLT as a product and construction system, and in fact there have been developments relative thereto, and local manufacturers of CLT must disseminate CLT information and knowledge in the form of its properties and characteristics, which in turn will address the beliefs and perceptions of industry participants. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Thanks for the presentation. And I think I would like to say it's impressive because I think it's from your interviewees selection, also the team around the cross-pollinating innovative models. So before I open the floor for the other participants to ask questions, maybe I should take you up. You study, I think, is meant for South Africa from your title, but your interviewees from Italy, what is their perception, particularly?
Chair, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, Chair. Well, the irony is that, well, firstly, remember that the CLT originated in Austria and Germany, so it is perhaps Eurocentric, well, certainly initially Eurocentric. And, of course, the pioneers or pathfinders, groundbreakers, whatever term you want to use, are likely to be European. And in fact, as you saw from the interviewees, they were Italian and Czech. So yes, they're the knowledgeable people. And South Africa, you could argue, should be thankful that they have pioneered this construction system, namely COT in South Africa. But we are not, as a country, unfamiliar with timber frame construction. The old Southern Cape, to use that term, which is the eastern part of the Western Cape now, is familiar with timber frame construction, and it is used not extensively, but to a fair extent. So that's just a brief summary of why we are where we are with COT. There's a bigger issue, and that is timber frame construction. South Africans are very traditional in the sense that if it's not constructed from concrete, reinforced concrete, or masonry brickwork or masonry blockwork, then it's inferior. And whether you're a built environment practitioner or professional or not, you have likely been availed of media reports, schools constructed from alternative building systems, and the walls get kicked in, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so, and diligence.
I think thanks for the response. I picked what I need to know, because in this side of the world, the Africa, I think the perception is the same. And I think your study has clearly proven what works. But I think it's an avenue for us to explore. So thanks. I will open the floor for other participants. You can drop your question in the inbox. You can, I will give you on mute everyone to ask. So we have, I think, 2-3 minutes left for questions. Any other question for, I think, Professor Smallwood, if I get it right, as I saw from your presentation?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. And
okay. So if we can't get a question from our participants, as Garikai Kajuao is preparing himself, I would just need to ask, clarify something from Professor Smallwood. Does weather have to do with the use of this PLC from your study?
Does weather have an effect?
Yeah, does it have effect? Why we are not using it in Africa?
Well, Chair, obviously, given that it's timber, it does require a specific treatment. And that's not just relative to insect infestation, but obviously due to the varying weather conditions COT may experience. That is in Europe and various parts of Africa, because as you know, for example, I live in Port Elizabeth, but it's very different to, say, Accra in Ghana or Lagos in Nigeria in terms of humidity and precipitation, etc. So, but it's not a major issue, Chair. In terms of the advantages, remember the panels are prefabricated, so there's limited time spent on site as such, substantially limited relative to reinforced concrete frame, structural steel frame, or masonry load bearing. So from a production, that is a construction perspective, it has major advantages in terms of weather.
Okay. I think thanks for the response. Just from experience, during my childhood, I know in Nigeria, those days we use it for some of our building, even up to yes. But the idea of the usage has really gives us to rely more on concrete, or now some are even using steel. So it makes it more expensive for housing in Africa generally. So thanks for your presentation. I think we will give the floor to the next presenter.
Thank you for your chairing, Chair. Thank you. And for your questions.
You can stop sharing your...
Yeah, now that's my next challenge, Chair.
Okay, you need to go to the top of the screen.
Yeah.
During your small words, just see...
now...
Look at the top of your screen. Click on where you see during your small words. And then you can stop it from there.
Sorry, Chair, I'm trying to...
Go to where you have share. At the top, you have file edit. Somewhere there. From here for you, then click on possible. Yeah, I think I've stopped you. I'll make Gary start the presenter now. Darika.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
You go to the bottom, you have a share.
My hair is not, it's a bit dim.
Your screen or what?
My share, don't show that. Like if I go to mute, allow me to mute, but my sharing is not allowing me. The icon is not.
How is it now?
Yeah. Let me.
Can you?
Okay.
I think we've seen your face before, but if that is disturbing you, yeah, we need to see the face of the presenter. So I appreciate each other. The floor is yours. You have 12 minutes.
I'm still trying to share.
Up. Still waiting to see it, but it's telling us it's starting to share content. Yeah, we can see your screen. Just need to browse your PowerPoint. Yeah. Can go ahead.
Wait.
Yeah, we are seeing your now. You are breaking. Probably your network is disturbing. It's your floor. Yeah, we see, but we see your platform. We can hear you.
Okay. They are waiting for November trail, and they like for make the demo sold. And then it's actually the you have to come out of this. It's the I will go to I can it is right. It is where confidence. What is it? In 95. So, which is the one? 22.5. What is it? No, this is it. Go ahead. I think it's going to be in November. 2020, and then so we just we have to okay, more than they like now. So you like a from anything. Sorry. Why? How is getting out is and they so lagging the for that baseline place for that for battery in the suite. Let's just by the two is that len also without telling you what I'm doing. And the matter is just like it's yours. Understand? Why go there? I go in the day. So I go to and one comment we are responsible for promoting and funding those. then we trade two that focus on legal achievement of the
So if you can hear me, Can you stop sharing? We can have a discussion because we hardly hear what you said. And I presume you are having the next presentation. I don't know what is happening with your network. If you can hear me, can you stop sharing? Stop sharing totally. Maybe that will give you the opportunity to talk clearly. I think your network is a bit weak. The floor is open for questions, but it will be difficult to ask you a question because though we saw your slide very clearly, but we can't hear what you are saying. And the next paper is meant to be Manicaland and Mason Mainland biogas baseline. You are still likely presenter, or I wouldn't know if Dr. Madira is here. Tarika.
Yes.
Now I heard you clearly now, but during your presentation we cannot hear you, or we saw your slide. But if I should ask you, are you the one presenting the next paper as well? Paper 133. Hello. Did you see the chat box? Did you see my message in the chat box? I need to change now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, can you allow the other presenters to present as I see my network?
Hello. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
You can see my screen. Okay. There's a problem. The slide is not moving.
Maybe you can unshare and try again.
Yeah, you can stop sharing and try again.
Okay.
Go to the top of the screen.
Okay. Top of the screen. Okay.
Here, you can see it on share there. Is it now? We can see your screen. Okay.
Okay, you can see the screen now.
Yeah. We can put in the.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, the chair.
Okay.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, the chair and my colleagues. I'm happy to share with you the work I've been doing with a colleague, with one of my students back in Nigeria. And the study looks at data literacy on fourth industrial revolution in the ECOWAS region in Africa. Now, the ECOWAS region represents the whole of West Africa. So there are about 15 member states in the ECOWAS region in West Africa. The study basically used cytometrics to elicit information from Scopus database to see how much of publications are coming from the ECOWAS region that informs the subject of fourth industrial revolution. As we all know, the way business operates these days has been seriously altered, not just by COVID-19, but by the introduction of disruptive technologies, which has shifted the paradigm in the way business operates. Now, we are in the era of the fourth industrial revolution, and there's been a lot of debate in literature about the issue of fourth industrial revolution. Some believe that the subject of fourth industrial revolution will only favor large firms. Some believe that some small firms that cannot really use advanced technology would be affected. But that's not the subject of this discussion. We are interested in looking at how much contribution does the research community have in the discussion around fourth industrial revolution. Basically, the research community is expected to produce knowledge. What essentially is expected from the research community is knowledge supply in the area of fourth industrial revolution. Basically, if we look at technologically advanced nations, developed countries of this world, we can see the active role the research community has been playing over the years. But in Africa, we have little or no evidence of the study produced, especially on the regional level, which is Africa, and on the sub-regional level, which is like ECOWAS, SADC, and the different sub-regions that we have in Africa. So this study intends to look at what the West African countries are doing in terms of knowledge supply in the area of fourth industrial revolution. The study is interested in looking at the volume and the growth of literature on fourth industrial revolution coming from the West African region. It intends to look at the nature and the extent of collaboration at the internal, which is ECOWAS, regional, which is African, and international levels for research on fourth industrial revolution. And lastly, the research sought to look at the productivity of the research outputs. Now, we do this by looking at the citation rates of the publications coming from the ECOWAS region. We compare the citations coming from the or the papers published from West Africa. We compare to the world average. Basically, like I mentioned earlier, the study used a cytometric approach, and then the software that we used for this study is called SizeVar. Basically, we're looking at 15 countries in the West African countries. We're looking at all the publications that have come out from that region within a 10-year period. So between 2000 and 2019. So that's our block here. And then this data was called out of the Scopus database in March 25th and was exported in April 2020. That's to say that whatever information I'm producing here ends at April 2020. Now, if you look at the table before us now, the first column represents all the countries in West Africa, and we can see the number of publications coming from them. And relative to others, we can see the percentages of each of the contribution of each of the country. Let us focus on the countries that have contributed significantly in the area of fourth industrial revolution in the ECOWAS region. Number one is Nigeria. Nigeria as a country has about 70% of the total publications coming from the ECOWAS region. That is Nigeria. It serves as a knowledge bank in the ECOWAS region. And next to Nigeria, we have Ghana contributing about 13%, and then we also have Senegal. If we put these three countries together, these three countries have produced 90% of the knowledge supply in terms of fourth industrial revolution in the ECOWAS region. Remember I mentioned that there are 15 countries in all, but then only 3 countries significantly contributed to the subject of fourth industrial revolution within the region, within the sub-region. And then out of the 3, Nigeria plays the lead role. Now, the table before us now shows the growth rate in the publication coming from the ECOWAS region. We can see that the growth has not been stable. However, it is projected that the publications will continue to grow. Will continue to grow. So we can see some years in 2013, 2015, 2019, which we had significant drops in the number of publications. However, looking deep into this table, we wanted to be sure of what was responsible for the decline in the outputs in these 3 years, 2013, 2015, and 2019. Looking closely at the table here, so the next table shows the growth rate of individual countries within the ECOWAS region in terms of publications in the area of fourth industrial revolution. Now, if you look at Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal, within those years that we had sharp decline, we can see that there were no significant declines in the output in those countries. That's to say that despite the fact that we had a decline in those countries in those particular years, the decline was responsible by the rest of the ECOWAS member states and not Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal. So this further buttresses the fact that Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal have been consistent contributors in the area of the fourth industrial revolution in terms of publication. Now, looking at the next table before us, we want to measure the nature and the extent of the collaboration. Now, we're looking at the total collaborating. How many countries did each country collaborate with? If we look at Benin, that means if you look at the first column and the second column, Benin Republic has contributed with 39 countries, Burkina Faso 37 countries, Cape Verde 13 countries, Cote d'Ivoire 50 countries. Now, again, looking back at the big 3 that have been consistent, Ghana 78. Ghana collaborated with 78 different countries on the subject of fourth industrial revolution in terms of publication. This is limiting its Scopus database. Nigeria collaborated with 106 countries to contribute to the subject of fourth industrial revolution. Senegal collaborated with 65 countries. Now, going back, let's narrow into Nigeria. Out of the 106 countries that Nigeria collaborated with, 76 out of 106, 76 countries were outside of Africa. That means that out of the 106, 76 countries were either North America, South America, Central America and Caribbean, Europe, Asia, and Australia. And then within Africa itself, Nigeria collaborates with 23 other countries among the 53 other countries in Africa. And then looking at the ECOWAS region, Nigeria collaborated with at least 7 other countries within the ECOWAS region. So we can see the breadth of work that has been done on the area of fourth industrial revolution being pioneered by Nigeria. Let's look at Ghana as well. Ghana collaborates with the 78 countries in all. Out of the 78 countries, 51 countries were outside of Africa. 19 countries were within Africa, and 8 countries was within the ECOWAS region. We can see that in Africa, in the ECOWAS region, the countries prefer to collaborate more with foreign, with international. I mean, they try to collaborate with outside of the African cohort. Now, this brings us to the, if you look at the column or the father's right, those represent the countries that each of those countries collaborated the most with. Now, this shows that colonization plays a lot of role in collaborative efforts coming from the research institutions. Most of the countries collaborated with their colonial masters. I remember that West Africa is also a mix of Anglophone and Francophone. So all of these things played a role. It was difficult for... Okay. It was difficult for Anglophone countries to collaborate with Francophone countries because of language barriers. Now, this one narrows down to the ECOWAS region to see the different collaborations that happen, and we can see that, of course, the collaboration was more like out of the region. Now, looking at the last slide, this last table shows the quality of the publications. Compare the quality of the publications measured by citations per publication compared to the world average. We can see that though most of these countries have actually struggled to collaborate and to publish, but the quality of the outputs were good. Most of these publications can compete significantly and successfully with with other papers internationally. Basically, this paper puts forward that the ECOWAS region only contributes about 2.2% of the world population in this 10-year period in the area of fourth industrial revolution. And ECOWAS region, only Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal were the significant contributors in the ECOWAS region. And finally, it is noticed that the colonization played a role in whom the country would choose to collaborate with. Thank you very much.
Thanks for keeping to time. Like I say before my comment, the floor is open for contribution, questions. Maybe I should try and unmute our participants.
Oh, Mama Pawalo, no, que sale como.
So, any question from the floor or from the room? As I'm expecting the question, hope Oluseya is still with me. Oluseya, are you still there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay, thanks for your presentation. Quite insightful.
Thank you very much.
That is my area of focus in research, post-industrial revolution, and I think I have done a significant contribution, close to about 5 in that area. And probably I cannot argue the result of your output, because I'm from Nigeria, and my collaboration has also been outside Nigeria, mostly with South African universities the last 5 years. So I think I can attest to the significance of the study. Be that as it may, I think may I allow you to just expatiate more on what you mean by knowledge supply. So for understanding.
Okay. Looking at the word demand and supply, demand represents what is needed in the industry or in the industries. Demand is really related to the industry, but supply, it talks about what is being provided. It's looking at production. Now we're looking at, in this case, we're looking at knowledge production in the area of fourth industrial revolution. So the knowledge supply or the knowledge production in this context represents information or data or information that is available in scholarly work, in publications that have been put in the public domain. which informs the subject of fourth industrial revolution. So we're looking at how many researchers in ECOWAS have published, or how many researchers, how many universities, how many countries have published on the subject of fourth industrial revolution. So the publications that informs fourth industrial revolution is what we refer to as knowledge supply in this context.
Oh, thanks. As a follow-up, please infer that in the practical implementation of fourth industrial revolution, some of the studies published cover such terms of implementation, because been one of the focus of the presidency in South Africa here to explore more of the applicability of fourth industrial revolution in governance. So from your point, does it shows the work the publication shows the applicability or just the theoretical side of the study?
Okay, so this study did not look at the applicability and then the level of implementation or the ability to implement. That would, although the study can still look at that, it just need additional analysis to look at the contribution, which of those contributions which speaks to the area of implementation and which speaks to the area of implementations generally. So it could be, I would take it as a challenge for a next paper using the same data.
Okay, thanks. I think that's what I want to bring out, because research is continuum, and I think don't allow the study stop there. So quite insightful, like I said. I think we look to more of research like this. So that's why, we were into research. Thanks. So
I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much.
The floor is still open for some of our panelists to ask questions.
If I may, can you hear me?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I can hear you.
Okay, you just spoke about supply and demand for knowledge. Do you have a mechanism for comparing or matching supply and demand and being able to determine how useful the knowledge being generated is?
Well, to be honest with you, it's easier to work with supply than to work with demand. I'll tell you the reason. It's easier to work with supply because supply has to do with what the researchers are producing to inform the subject of fourth industrial revolution. We use the Scopus database. Scopus database represents publications. But then if we want to look at demand, then we need to use a database that is beyond Scopus. Now, the demand for knowledge are not usually put in Scopus database, or they are not restricted to Scopus database. They are also, we also need a software that can, call those information or those data from company websites, government reports and white committee papers and stuff like that. So we need more than a general repository to capture the demand. But it's possible, but then we need to do a little more work to achieve that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. I think I need more of that from the before we'll give Karika again the opportunity to represent. I think we clear have time for him. Any other issue question in the house, in the room? Let me mute others. Any other question? Aaron Williams, you have a question for him? Michaela, that's a question?
No.
Okay. I think we can let him off the hook. Thanks, for the good job.
Thank you very much. I appreciate those comments. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. So you can start sharing your screen. so we can give the next presenter again the opportunity.
Okay.
Radical.
How do I stop again?
Maybe I should, if I'm doing it from here, we have to stop you, then you relog it if you.
Oh, yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Let me try to privilege those. Okay, let me just automatically make him the presenter so it will be taken off the screen. Gary Cow.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we hear you?
Hear you?
Yeah. Can you? Now we saw your slide. If you are having challenges with combining slide and just run through we change the slide. Somebody just the aim, then your result. Then we can engage you with that.
I can hear you. What are you saying?
I'm trying to say you can. Yeah, we are coming up now in sharing your screen. But hope you're hearing me clearly. Can you hear me? Probably you should not share because the bandwidth will be too low. Challenges about hearing you have to combine presentation with the next paper. Okay, let's see. Can you see your slide? You can start.
I think we have this. I think we have the same problem with either sound or visual. Maybe he can stop and we can hear him.
Yeah. Maybe you should stop sharing and engage us and see. And I don't know if you can send it across. The mail. And then on this. Can you send it to? Or it will be difficult for you to say you send your slide to us, your PowerPoint to us. And then we can produce it from here. Yeah. So we'll send the email across to you now. Hope you can see the chat box.
Okay.
In the chat box, we are sending an email point two that we can help you project from here. Can you see the email? We send it privately to you. So we saw your slide, saw your PowerPoint slide. We have sent an email to you via the chat box. If you can send the PowerPoint across, we'll check and we see whether we can project for you. Pending you do that. So the floor is open for let's engage for the next 5-10 minutes as we are trying to finish. He will send his PowerPoint to us. Overview of the online content. We need the feedback from most of you. We send the feedback probably example form or just because so opinion from the room, topics to discuss, pending you can resolve this. If not, we'll get across to him personally and whether we can create another course for him before Friday. Okay, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. We still have about 30 minutes left in the session. For first and second, the saying is not, but we can hear it. Or can anyone be able to tell you? As we are still battling with, can we see the face of our presenter? So we can reckon with you. You should just put on your video for some minutes.
I suspect because bandwidth is such that either we can see or hear.
Yeah, we can same from there. I think that was what I want to get from the room. If I don't know if any of you still have questions for Michaela Mayberg, because we didn't have time to engage her after our presentation.
Yes, actually, I do.
Yeah, please, can you go ahead?
Sorry. How did you find the sites, the digesters that you investigated? What mechanism did you use to identify the digesters and the digester owners?
Michaela, you can respond.
Excuse me, please can you repeat the question? I can't hear properly.
I'm sorry. I wanted to know how did García survey biogas digesters in Zimbabwe? How did he find the owners of the digesters? How did he locate the digesters?
How are you?
I think she's not the one that talks to digester. I think she talks to food. It was Itai that was talking about digester, which we can't hear exactly. But for Michaela, I think our topic was food waste management in hospitals. So, as a follow-up question to Michaela. Hope you can hear me. Hello? Michaela?
I'm here. Hello?
Yeah. We didn't have time to ask you questions the other time.
Yes.
So I wanted to know the quantum of food waste from your study that has to do with the hospital. Food waste in hospitals.
Excuse me, what does food waste in hospitals have to do with?
I said your presentation has to do with food waste management in hospitals.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to know what the causes of food waste. What is the major causes of food waste in the hospital where you carry out?
Okay, so through the study, I've identified that the major causes of food waste in hospitals is kitchen errors, lack of appetite by the patients, and an irregular hospital environment, meaning that patients would be admitted into hospital and order food as they order food for the entire meal service being breakfast, lunch, and supper every morning, but then get discharged before they have lunch or supper, and therefore their food's prepared but then has to be discarded. So those are the major causes of food waste in hospitals.
Then were you able to provide a solution to how they can reduce the
So this paper is a small study which is part of a larger study that's still in process. But based on the reduction measures I have found through literature and just my questionnaires in the hospitals, so far they're using standardizing recipes and training employees on food waste management. And then they have implemented food waste reduction systems such as food gardens, so using leftover foods as compost, to make compost using bokashi, which they then use in their food gardens. But these methods aren't very effective as they still have large amounts of food waste.
So I think from literature, so it's now left for you to see how standardized food waste process implemented after your findings.
Excuse me, I didn't hear the question.
I said the question, I'm just trying to let you know that your findings from literature, is there any plan to get it implemented so you can help in the reduction of this food waste?
It's not very clear. I can't hear properly.
I will repeat again. From your findings in the literature,
yes,
are you thinking in the line of helping the hospitals to implement an appropriate procedure in reducing waste through the means you have identified?
Based on the literature, I'm working with a company called AMPAS. They they are outsourced by the hospitals to cater. So we are currently working on a framework, trying to find ways to reduce the food waste, because they are currently doing what I have found in literature, like I said, standardizing the recipes, training staff on food waste management, but they are still experiencing high volumes of food waste in the hospitals. So we need to figure out or find a system that reduces the amount of food waste they're experiencing, apart from the measures they currently have in place, because it's not working really well.
I think thanks for the next one. The slide is still open for anyone that wanted to ask a question. We are trying to see whether we can download the PowerPoint for. Thanks, Michaela, for. So we have received your PowerPoint. Garika, you can stop sharing. Let's see whether we can share from you, for you from here. Then you can speak with it for your second paper.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can stop sharing so you have enough bandwidth to speak to your slides.
You said I can stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing so you can.
Okay.
So we're trying to transfer the. So just hold on a bit. I think we should be able to do one of the presentations clearly. That means, can you stop sharing from your end there? Go to the top.
The top corner.
Okay, I will change your role and.
Stop sharing. I stopped.
You should stop. Okay. And Olusegun has to stop sharing. Okay, let me take the privilege of making myself a presenter. There you go. Hope you can hear me well. I'm trying to see how to open a PowerPoint. Just hold on a bit. So, see if I can share from here. PowerPoint is opening. Can you see the screen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I think, Garika, the floor is yours. Just tell me to go next.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Galkai. I'm a master's student at the University of Johannesburg, and my supervisor is Dr. Magista. I'm going to present on Manica land and Matona land biogas baseline survey. Manica Land and Mashonaland biogas baseline survey. Manica Land and Mashonaland are two provinces which are in Zimbabwe. These are two provinces which are in Zimbabwe. That is where we did the biogas baseline survey. So the general contents of the presentation are going to be general context, specific context, problem statement, aim of the investigation, methodology, results and discussion, and conclusion. Thank you. You can go down. So basically, Zimbabwe is an energy or an electricity deficit of about 600 megawatts, because the demand is about 1,500 megawatts and the supply is 900 megawatts. But if you look at it closely, there is a drop in terms of the demand from by 2011, the demand was 2,000 megawatts, and the power generating capacity at that time was 1,200 megawatts, which means there is a drop in terms of the demand. Some scholars are saying there is massive deindustrialization in the country and industry is not working properly, which is causing that drop. But however, that is not the interest of this, is to say that there's an energy deficit which needs to be closed. And currently, as we speak, scholars argue that the country is only utilizing 8% of the biomass potential, and also there's an indication that there are about 400 biodigesters which have been built in the country, but that is not properly documented. It's just sporadic. And then it is also estimated that the country, or the people of Zimbabwe, use about 6 million tons of wood per annum, and therefore it was the intention of this baseline survey to quantify the existing digesters in the two provinces. The other presentation that I was supposed to do, I hope I'm going to just quickly talk about it after this presentation, was focusing on a different area in another province. So this was in the two provinces of Manicaland and Mashonaland. You can go down. Now the two provinces that we visited are in what is called Region 2 and 3 of the agroecological regions which are in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is divided the country into some agroecological regions. There's natural region 1, 2, 3, up to 5. Natural region 1, 2, 3 receive fairly moderate rainfall, and the conditions are conducive for anaerobic digestion or for biogas activities to take place. However, the two provinces are mostly rural, and most of the people rely on traditional fuel such as for cooking and paraffin for lighting. And we felt that the biogas can be a good alternative in terms of helping the rural communities to improve the source of energy. You can go down. Now, there are many players in the biogas industry. Some of them are documented, some of them are not documented. As an illustration, you find that a farmer can build a biodigester at a farm. That may not be documented by anyone. They'll be having their own biogas, but no one knows about it. And then we also have the government also chipping, and we also have some private players also building their own biodigesters. But there is no proper coordination, there's no proper documentation, which makes it difficult to know the exact quantity in terms of the biodigesters that are in the country. And this often results in a repetition of mistakes. For example, if there was a challenge in a certain biodigester, if there's no documentation, mistakes are only repeated, and then the negative implications of over-reliance on traditional biomass, such as wood, results in deforestation, health implications, and in rural setups, it is mainly the girl child who is at the forefront of looking for firewood to cook for the family and so forth. So we thought that there's need to do this study to actually understand the extent of the potential. And I must say that this study was also carried in conjunction with the Ministry of Energy, because at that time there was an intention to roll out a national biogas program. You can go down. You can go down. There are many benefits that can. You can go up. There are many benefits that communities can get once they use biodigesters. For example, now we can see that the girl child can no longer go in the forest to look for firewood, and also, there are improvements in terms of the emissions that that are emitted in the environment. The digested and the slurry that we get from the biodigester, we can use it for as organic manure. And there's also improvement in terms of waste management. And also there's clean cooking, which can also improve the sanitation and the health of the users of biodigesters. You can go down. The aim of the investigation was to conduct a baseline survey of the uptake of biogas technology in Manicaland and Mashonaland provinces. And then how did we do the research? What we did was we started with the literature survey, we did the field visits, data collection, analysis of results, and report writing. Now, it may be interesting, there was a question we said, how did we choose the biodigesters? Due to lack of documentation, after doing the literature survey, we also got to know of the NGOs and the companies and the institutions that build digesters. And for this study, we managed to visit all the areas that we documented to have digesters. It's unfortunate that we couldn't, those that were not documented, we could not visit them, but all those that were documented and the ones that we got from the survey, we managed to visit them, and we managed to collect the data and analyze accordingly. Now, the tool that we used before we go to the result, the tool that we used, it covered many things, such as the type of digester, the size of the digester, the experiences of the users, energy usage, the mode of feeding, the feeding intervals, the year of extraction, and who funded the digester. That is what the tool covered, the one that we used to, when we went to interview the owners of the digester institutions. These two provinces were very interesting in that we realized that there were 4 types of digesters. There was what was called the Kamatek design, which was the most popular one, which was 62%. This one came from Tanzania. It's a Tanzanian design. And then there was the institutional. This one, I think I got some pictures there. The institutional one, we found it at one of the training centers, sort of an FPT college in the South African context. They were having an institutional digester, and then we also found that they were also bilatrine, whereby they built what are called the black toilets or traditional toilets, and then they connect that toilet to the biodigester. So the human feces and whatever comes from the toilet is connected to the digester, and then it gets to the digester, and then it is fermented. It was also, however, challenging in that there were no clear measurements of the amount of feces and urine that could get into the digester. And then the last design that we saw was the floating drum digester. It's also sometimes called the Indian digester. You can go down. So I don't know what happened to that picture, but the first one is an example of the bilateral. The bilateral is the whereby, like I said, that is a traditional toilet which is then connected to a digester. So human feces from the toilet, they then go to the digester. And then on the right is the institutional digester, which was built for sort of an FET college. And then at the bottom is a floating drum. Once this drum, once there's biogas, it moves up, showing the extent or the amount of gas that is in the digester. And then what is on the left, D, is the Kamatech design, which is mainly built underground. And so these are the four main designs that we saw in the two provinces. And then the state of the digesters. It was very important and very interesting because when we visited other provinces, most of the digesters were not working, but in this province, 4 of the digesters were working, and then about 10 of them were non-functional. The non-functional digesters, these are digesters that we saw that they could work, but they were not working in that material time. And then 2 of them were collapsed. And then about 9 of them were abandoned. Hello?
Where with you?
Okay, it's okay. And then 2 of them were to be completed. It was very worrying because these digesters were built more than they started building them more than 8 years before we visited these digesters. It was very worrying to see that after 8 years, these digesters were to be completed. And then some of them were completed, but they were still to be fed. After about 5 years of being constructed, we showed that really there was no interest in using the technology because if a digester, it will take you 5 years to feed the digester. It means there's really no interest in using that digester.
Should I go to the next page?
You can go down. And then in this province, it was also very interesting to note that there were many players which were instrumental in the construction of the digesters. We are going to see that in the other side that we carried out. Are we still together?
Yes.
Are we still together?
Yes, I'm with you. I'm with you. Just tell me.
Okay. In the other side that we carried out, it was an NGO which was responsible for the construction and the funding of the digester. But in these 2 provinces, you find that there were many players that were involved in the construction of the digesters. For example, we also have the owners themselves, like pig farmers. Pig farmers had an interest in doing their own digesters, and we also have educational institutions coming to the party, the government and the church, the non-profit organization, the embassies, and then we also have a joint venture between the government and the embassies. It's very interesting to note that most of the digesters that were working, they were owned by the pig farmers because they could connect to the outlet of their pigsty, then it becomes the inlet of the digester, and then when they are cleaning their pigsty, whatever comes there, it goes to the digester. So the challenge that we realized was that there was no measurement in terms of the water and quantities that are getting into the digester.
Should I go next?
Yes. You can go down. And then yes, you can go up. Now, those were the intention of what they used users told us what they intended to use the digester. So we find that most of the users, they wanted to use the digester for heating, for cooking and lighting, and then some of them, a combination of cooking and lighting. So when they do the digester, the idea was we want to use it for cooking and lighting, and then we have others who said, no, we only want to use the digester for lighting. Then others wanted to use it for cooking, and then on some schools and for NGOs, some of the digesters were built for demonstration purposes to show learners and also to show the community.
Yeah, you should be rounding up soon.
It's okay. Thank you. So the main reasons why the digesters were not working were, one, the users wanted to continuously get funding in terms of the maintenance, and then there was also unavailability of stock, and community digesters, technical faults, other users, and then the availability of other sources. So the type of substrate that were used in this province, the major substrate that was used was cow dung, and then chicken waste was also coming up, pig manure, and then on the bilateral they were using human excreta, and so the major source of substrate was cow dung.
So okay, we are concluding now. So, we're preparing for another section. So just round up now.
It's okay.
So your conclusion.
Okay, so on the conclusion, the four types of digesters that are common in the provinces are the Kamatek, the Chinese type, and the Indians and the bilateral. And then only 11%, only 14% of the digesters were working. So it's only 11%, it's 14. It's 14%. And then the main type of substrate that was used is cow dung. And most of the digesters that were surveyed failed due to technical issues.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. We just have to already end the section, but I think thanks for your patience, because it's not easy having to have technical issues with presentation. But I will say to all people in the house, it's a privilege sharing this section, and I think we have really achieved one of the main name of the theme of this conference, which is to coordinate innovative ideas. So I will encourage most of us to continue to dwell more into our research, and I think get reasonable output that can help in the employment generation and affect life positively in Africa. Thanks once again. So we can't ask Gary Khan's questions. I think he has attended to one of the questions prior to his presentation. It's a privilege. So the conference still continues. We're having another session in this same room from the next 1 minute. So thanks everyone. We have to end the section. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.